Hey there, everybody. That dude is Marco. I'm Driggs, and we are wallowing in the sticks.
Good evening to you, Barrister. I'm delighted to be here tonight wallowing with our grand community. But in some effort to kind of drive us forward in some rough-hewn efficiency, let's just get right into some game action, shall we?
Well, in my opinion, as I put out in the email to our VIPs, it was one of the most exciting slates. Every game had its own little storyline that needed to be handicapped and figured out. And we got some of them right. We absolutely got some wrong, but I think we framed all the games in an interesting light. So, you know, well, what can we say? Let's just go through each of the games, so few of them today. The Mets absolutely walloped Washington early on, so it just shows that Washington's offense is really as bad as the Mets' psychology. So the Mets
Those
are,
two are made for each other.
yeah, right? Uh, the game in Philadelphia is very interesting today. No reason why Philadelphia shouldn't be able to just clobber the Baltimore pitcher Eshelman, who has, if you really get into the analytics, should have been lit up in each of the prior performances. Today, the Phillies not only didn't light him up, wasn't like they just had guys on base and needed one more hit. At the end of four, they did go up 2 runs, and then in the top of the fifth is when the wheels came off for Arrieta, and Baltimore just coast to a easy win.
I mean, do you have an answer for it? Because these Phillies are making these Orioles look like the 1970 World Series champion Orioles somehow.
Yeah, my answer is look what the Phillies did with the Marlins to start the season, and they've been consistent at making teams look.
Yeah, it's just so surprising that I guess they're a train wreck, as the cliche would go. But even yesterday, I forgot to mention, they were talking about Rio Rios's play at third base, and they were thinking a la Brooks Robinson. He made a game-saving grab, fully extended, and all he could do was roll the ball, and they got the force out at second, and it was amazing. And Jim Palmer said it was by far the best play of the season. Cakes, but I have to chime in. I have a little minor disagreement with Cakes. I think the best play of the season was you taking Minnesota in 5 over Milwaukee.
Love it. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Just wanted to say that. All right, I love Jim Palmer. You're still my favorite Oriole of all time. I don't care for the nickname Cakes, but you're still my favorite Oriole of all time. But the best play of the season so far was Michael Driggs' play on Minnesota in 5 over Milwaukee.
That was a good one. But my favorite play of the year, is Joe Adell trying to catch the fly ball in right field 15 feet away from the wall and somehow throws it over the wall. That's maybe even more impressive than when the ball hit Canseco's head and went over the fence, because you obviously know anything hitting Canseco's head is going to have a long bounce, but trying to catch a ball and throwing it over the fence is better than any own goal in soccer. That was my favorite play. But
I mean, Adele got called up. It was, it wasn't a surprise. They were expecting him to come up. I just don't think he had his glove worked in the right way. Just because he tried to squeeze his glove and it just bounced off the heel of the glove. I'm not blaming Adele's athleticism. I'm blaming the fact that he didn't use the right oil to break that glove in there.
Who knows whose glove it was?
All of a sudden, I'm lefty. I got a left-handed glove. I'm throwing left-handed. What's going on here?
You and Adele.
Hey, man, since we're talking about individual players, let's talk about Greinke, man.
Wait, we got to get through all this game.
There's
so much going on here.
I get excited.
I know. And there is much to say about that, but I want to talk about the handicapping of that Philadelphia game. So there was also the looming likelihood of rain, and it did delay the start of the game by at least an hour. And so we capped that game pretty well. However, we put out our information, but not with a play on it. because who can trust these Phillies? And the lines we were seeing was 5.5. We liked 5 in the analysis. My point was we just can't play them over 5 based on everything that's happening with this club today.
Right.
So sometimes we'll put out information, we'll say no play. That's us, but maybe you can use our information. So sometimes we really have a lot to say on a game, but can't pull the trigger. And so we'll give you that information in that instance like we did today, but we're going to say no play. And of course, the Phillies only muster 4 runs. So even if it was a line of 5, we'd have been in trouble. But we broke the game down well enough that we wanted to share the information. And so we said no play on that. In the Tampa Bay-Boston game, we said no play again. But that game just flew right over, right over. And that would have been an easy win. But we couldn't trust Tampa Bay in this spot. So that was a no play on that as well. However, we did pull the trigger on Pittsburgh and Cincinnati. And second inning, that game was over. We thought it was going to be a good pitching matchup. DeScalafini's been awesome, and Williams has been awesome. With an over-under at 5, we thought we would be pretty safe there. We liked it. We broke it down, and Pittsburgh was up 7-0 at the end of 2. That's just one of those games where we had the fly ball and knocked it over the fence ourselves. But
it happens. I mean, Scalafini had, I think, a 1.5 ERA going into this game, you know,
yeah.
And he was looking good. I mean, he's no Bundy, but he was looking good.
Right. And
imagine saying that. He's no Bundy. We're actually saying that now as a show.
Well,
I said it anyway.
Right? Not only no Bundy, but it's going to be tough for him to recover from a 2-inning, 9-hit, 9-earned outing to get back in the Dad's advance running. But we did nail our first Reed Flyer.
Great game, great cap, man. I enjoyed it. I was working on the show and doing a few things, and I had the old Joe Buck Schmaltz broadcast going in the background, and then, you know, and it was the Flyer, so it was nice to have that in the background to stay busy, to cut my own hair, and all the things I had to do, you know.
So in a game like that, especially when it's a Flyer, you're trying to figure out a way to get on the underdog. You're trying to figure out a wager that can be made, but there's just no angle, and there's no way to buck Darvish right now. He's been outstanding, and he had a no-hitter through 6, I think, about that long. And so the game never was in question until Milwaukee put a couple of guys on in the bottom of the 9th, and they couldn't tie it up, thankfully. But the most significant thing is with the first Read Flyer coming from our first Read segment, we move to now 7-3 out of 10 games. That's 70%. And so even though there have been some big favorites in there, 7-3 is still an outstanding record.
I'll take it. I'll take 7-3 any old time.
We'll take it. And so that's the slate, including the 3 games that the Cardinals were postponed on.
Did you see Strasburg? Was it today or yesterday that he got thrown out of the stadium? He was hanging out just in the field box, and I guess he was haranguing a call or something.
Yesterday,
and he got thrown out of the game.
Yeah.
What do they do? They send him to the clubhouse? Is that the punishment? He has to go sit in a COVID-infested clubhouse? I mean, I know this has been Fred Ball, but even for Fred, that seems a little draconian, don't you think?
It does. It seems very draconian, but it also seemed appropriate.
Send a fully healthy guy in the fresh air of a ballpark into a COVID-infested. I mean, I don't know. We're talking Middle Ages kind of a punishment there.
Right. They should make him sit in the make him sit in the crowd, like you were saying. Right? Wouldn't that be more appropriate?
I just don't think that he should get thrown out of the stadium and have to go into the clubhouse. I think he should either be able to go home or put him up in the upper deck without any kind of amplifying equipment, and nobody can hear him. He could just yell all the hell he wants.
Or if they send him home in a car like they did with Plesac. Did you see Plesac today? This is unbelievable. Plesac, for any viewer who isn't familiar, this is a guy who pitched a good game last weekend, and his buddy Clevenger, it turns out another pitcher on the team, took him out to drinks in violation of the team's committed protocols to each other, and they went out and had some drinks or something. Not really clear what they did, but they broke protocols, and the team found out, and apparently they just lied directly to the team about what they had done. So the team was in Chicago, I think, and they sent Plesac home. They sent him home in a car because they couldn't travel with him. He has to quarantine. And so did you see Plesac today? He put out a 6-minute video online to clear the air. And then, right? So basically in the video, he's saying, we're handling it in-house as a team. It's just basically blaming the media, and, right? Blaming basically that, and to tell everybody that they should feel bad for him. But it's very clear that this approach is backfiring.
Oh, yeah. People,
surprise!
Yeah, surprise. Yeah, he doesn't have his media skill hat on with that one. He should have went with my excuse and said that he was at a pop-up party in South Korea where the curve is completely flattened. Man, let's talk a little bit about Greinke, because that's something I've never seen. Him barking pitches, what pitch he wants to throw from the mound to the catcher Maldonado.
Well, that's the misnomer here. That's where people are confused, and that's where having, as we've discussed before, the special feature that has the closed captioning of the piped-in sound, which I now keep on all the time because I found a way through my MLB app to really capture the closed captioning, not necessarily the piped-in sound, but all the piped-in sound. So I'm watching the game on MLB, and let's give people a little bit of background here. So what actually happened last season was, or the season before, whatever the hell it was, Houston was stealing signs. And so teams are really upset with them because they weren't just stealing signs from like the runner on second, traditional. They were pounding garbage cans and really getting a truly electronic unfair advantage. Not like they were electronic trash cans, but very complex. And so Greinke Greinke is now, he's the pitcher for Houston. And so just because he's kind of a weird guy to begin with.
Just yesterday, right?
Yeah, and he's like, basically, fuck you people. You know what the truth is? Here comes a fastball. And he would tell them and throw. But that's not what was going on. That's just how the media has reported it because they didn't hear what was being said. I had the closed captioning. He was really barking out his butcher box order. He was saying, ribeye, ribeye. And because you got to get it in. As much as we love Butcher Box, they are on a delivery schedule. And if you don't get your order in, you don't get the add-ons, you don't get they will send your box because they're efficient. They don't have time to mess around. And so he was saying, ribeye, ground turkey. He wasn't calling the guy a turkey. That's what's going on there, Marco.
Yeah, that makes sense because that really does clear it up for me. And, he's a star and Maldonado's just a catcher. So Maldonado is taking note of those orders and is immediately gonna wire him in.
Right.
Okay. Well, that clears that up. He is an unusual guy, but yes, you got to get your order in because when you want the best meat, you sometimes need a butcher. I'm talking about antibiotic-free meat. I'm talking about free range. I'm talking about grass-fed, grass-finished. I'm not talking about the butcher. I'm talking about the meat, Michael. See how I went backwards on that one? Yeah. I didn't need to, but it still almost worked.
It worked well because sometimes people don't understand just how much a butcher might be pumped up with hormones and antibiotics, which is important to know because it doesn't affect the carving of the meat. It doesn't affect the packaging of the meat. Yeah. It's the meat that you want to have no hormones and antibiotics. The butcher, you want him smoking a cigarette. You want him having some drink.
You want him full of all kinds of hormones because that's how he's going to get up in the morning to be able to get up at 5 a.m. to work with carcasses of bodies.
Covered in a bloody apron. Yeah.
Animals.
So it's important.
Stuff. So I'm talking about the meat, Michael. I'm not talking about the butcher.
Exactly, because the butcher, he's his own specimen. He's a butcher. But talking of,
Let's do a whole segment on butchers once if we could. Can we put that into promises?
yeah, as long as we also talk about Mike Butcher.
Who?
Mike Butcher. He's a pitcher.
We could do a whole week on Mike Butcher.
Yeah. So I was having dinner with the folks tonight, but
Stay on food. I love it.
Yeah, it was a different kind of dinner because those people watching the show tonight who watch the show regularly will know. Last night we had the cookie challenge, and it was just. And you at one point even said, you know, you have to ration the cookies, and my response was, yeah, because there were also donuts. So it was really a party last night with the folks. And tonight, I don't know, I really felt it last night. I don't need a lot of that stuff really ever, but you know, you're with the folks, you go with it. And I just had a hard time with just falling asleep last night, digestion, just didn't feel right. And you know, you think, oh no, it's just the carbohydrate. Just a carbohydrate. It's a carbohydrate nasal drip. And so I show up and I'm like, hey guys, how are you? And Mom's like, you don't seem as energetic as normal. Bit of a malaise today. Mom's like, yeah, I know. Me too. Just some pain. And I'm all, yeah, the carbs, all the sweets, really all the sugar. Mom's like, I know. I had a terrible night. I did too. That's like, what's wrong with you guys? I was fine. I had no problems. I was fine. He's fine. He's eating more chips. It's just unbelievable. He has like a superpower to just break down crap food. He had no problem. But
yeah, he's the Michael Jordan of dads. I mean, you know, Kobe Bryant, may rest in peace. He was like salmon and beef broth and all the healthy foods, and Michael Jordan famously was eating whatever the hell he wanted, smoking cigars and gambling late hours. And we won't talk about who was the better basketball player, but you know, Michael just had superpowers like your dad.
Yeah, dad was not.
Steve Berger's the Michael Jordan of dads.
Yeah, he was not fazed in the slightest. Wasn't a problem. And so I noticed when I was leaving today, I'm heading out the door, but I kind of made a little bit different turn than I normally make because I needed to pick something up from a counter. And Mom couldn't really see where I was, and she must have thought I had exited because she immediately turned to Dad right when I should have been outside. She said, Steve, would you like some cookies tonight? And I just left. So I don't know whether they went. Because remember, they still have all those Dave's cookies that they got.
Yeah. They jumped the gun on getting a subscription before the taste test. I don't understand how that happened. That's unlike Steve Berger to miss that little detail. To get the subscription before the test.
Yeah.
I mean, you have blindfolds ready. You knew there was going to be a test. Nobody has blindfolds in their house for blind taste tests. But you do. Your dad does. So how does he get the subscription before the taste test? I don't know. Some things remain a mystery, like his metabolism and the fact that he got a subscription to Dave's Cookie, a company that no one's ever heard.
Right.
But so what else are we going to talk about? Should we still talk about food? Oh, we have another sponsor, non-sponsor, but it's kind of a long story. I went to Shoreline to get some crabs, the very best crabs, and I haven't bought steamed crabs in a long time. I'm gonna see some friends in a social distance event, you know, where we're gonna be on a farm, and it's gonna be a weekend of fun on the farm, and I want to bring up crabs because it's in New York and there's nothing like Maryland crabs. So I go in there and I figure, you know, they're gonna be small, medium, and large. There's only, you know, really males and females. I've never in my life ever seen anyone eat a female crab, ever. So that really reduces it to just males. Female crabs are disgusting even to look at. Male crabs, on the other hand, are delectable. And so I figured, all right, I'm going to get the large. I'm not going to be a cheapskate. And I'm looking at this wall of shells, and large is sixth or seventh down the line. There's a number of other ones, and I'm thinking to myself, when did this crab genetically multiply into so many different crabs? And then I'm looking, they're alive, and I'm looking, And they all, they look exactly like how I remember them. You know why? Crustaceans go back 200 million years. They haven't changed. Even the blue crab, which may be muted from the early crustaceans, is 10 million years old. It hasn't developed. If it wanted to develop, it would have at least learned to walk straight, or it would have developed that to be able to understand foreign languages well. But it hasn't changed. Why are there so many different sizes? I got super jumbo. I got the super jumbo crab, and I was still 3 down the line. There was like He-Man Hofstede, and then like the He-Man Shebang. And I guess I could have just said, just give me the biggest ones you have. I mean, a crab's a crab. I mean, my super jumbo is a normal, nice medium. That is a crab. But why is it all of a sudden a super jumbo? And what the hell's a He-Bang Hofstede and Shebang, He-Man and all these other ones that they had. And I really would have, because you don't want to come off cheap. You're paying $90 a dozen. You get a couple dozen. You don't want to save 10, 20, $30 when you're at those prices. And I should have just said, just give me the largest crabs you have. But I couldn't eat a He-Man Shebang. I just couldn't see myself eating a He-Man Shebang, no matter how much bigger it was, even if it was just that much bigger.
I think that would have been a great way to call Soto's 470-foot homer.
Anyway, I got to read this though, because they are a sponsor, non-sponsor.
Yeah, right.
What does it say? Yeah. Shoreline. Sure, we don't guarantee you won't get sick, but we don't know what that crab was up to when he was on his own time. Shoreline.
Yeah, love it. And we would hawk the He-Man Shebang. We would, because those crabs are amazing.
They are amazing crabs.
So where are you bringing those, Marco? You're bringing them?
I'm going all the way up to a place called Jewett. It's in upstate New York, in the Catskills. It's very close to Woodstock, and there's myriad towns all over. There's Hudson City, which is a neat little town. It's probably my favorite little town in all the areas. Woodstock's a little too hipstery, kind of touristy. Hudson City's cool, and then they have one of the best Napolitano pizza places that I've ever had anywhere, except for Mozza in Los Angeles. When I used to live in Los Angeles, Pizza Mozza was the very best I've ever had. But this place, the Oak in Hudson, I'm hoping they become a sponsor, because I'd like to get some of those pizzas delivered. But yes, I'll be up on, my buddy has a farm, and there's going to be a little bit of steaks. I'm bringing up the crabs.
So he's got a farm.
He's got a full-on farm, and
so with no farm system anymore, I'll bet you there's a few ball players just hanging out there on the farm.
Well, yeah, I think there might be some guys hanging out that maybe these are where the guys from the Mets are secreting to.
Right, it might be. So we'll let our audience know that we have some guests lined up for the next couple of shows, some interesting guests, some people who may be familiar to you. But Mark is going to still try to join us. But if he's not able to generate connection or capacity out there, the show is going on. The show will be fine. But Marco, we want you to have a good time, almost as good a time as this spam texter I got today. How about
another one of these screaming at you like a maniac?
Yeah, this guy's great. He says, one easy winner has been isolated on today's card. Easy winner, like any of this is easy. Even if you have a game that comes in early and cashes, the only things that are ever easy are losers, never winners. So one easy winner has been isolated on today's card. It's a max bet situation. Can you handle this huge winner? I can't
Can you handle this huge winner?
I can only
handle it. I don't know if I can handle it.
Just amazing. Just amazing.
I don't even know what that means. Can you handle it? It's like when I was in high school and I wasn't getting any chicks and I was, and everyone was saying, well, look at Liz, everyone loves Liz. And I have no chance, but I mean, I can't help but look at Liz and, and someone says, well, you wouldn't even know how to handle her. And I'm thinking, well, I wouldn't. I mean, sure, I'm a virgin. I mean, I'm only in 10th grade.
I sure would like to try.
I know that I'm attracted to her. Well, I understand the basics. I mean, I'm sure I don't know what I'm doing, but you don't think I'd be able to handle her? I don't even know what that means.
Right. So we would, it's our promise. We will never do that to you. In fact, we even give you information on games we're saying don't play. Just here's some information that if you're leaning one way or another, maybe this information helps you. If we spend the time to cap a game and have an angle, we're going to share it with you, even if we are not at the point we're going to pull a trigger ourselves. Speaking of triggers, tomorrow is Friday. So when we look at the percentages, we're 4/8, really 4/7 through the week.
Well, Sunday would be the 4/7.
Right. So, but we're looking at this as a 7-day week. This is day 4.
Okay, I see what
Tomorrow will be day 5 because we're looking at this percentage in a week. And so let's do the first reads.
Let's go through the first reads, Mike.
So let's frame everything, recognizing that tomorrow is Friday, begins new series. There are some layovers from series that started today, but mostly it's a fresh slate, a 3-game series in general. But not all of them are that way. And when you look at the slate tomorrow, it starts off bizarre. I can't even quite understand what's going on here. First game on the slate starts at 2 o'clock Pacific time, and Washington already has a couple guys on, and it's the bottom of the I can't even tell what inning it is, the 5th, and it just doesn't even make any sense.
You gotta lay off the sugar, man. You can't tell what inning it is. It's the sugar, man.
This is
sugar. It's still with you, man. It's blurring your vision.
Right. This is the suspended game, the makeup game. The game Baltimore's got the 5-2 lead in that they won't just give them.
And they got runners on.
Yep.
Exciting. And it's not because it's extra innings.
Right. So that game goes
back to reanimation.
Mm-hmm. Crazy.
Because of that mechanical error of the faulty tarp that had no gears, oil, or smoke.
Right. Crazy. So the mechanical tarp error. So give me just a sec.
That had to be Atticus, right?
That's Finnegan. That's
wow. Good. I mean, I had a 50% chance.
Yeah. So Strasburg gets to go tomorrow against Malone. I guess they'll let him back into the ballpark. Tampa Bay starts their series in Buffalo against Toronto. Rourke is going for Toronto, and he's a mess. Tampa Bay flies overnight tonight to Buffalo. The Mets against Philadelphia. Philadelphia just got manhandled by Baltimore, and their reward for that is getting to face DeGrom tomorrow. And Philadelphia doesn't even know who they're throwing, so they travel day. That's what's going on that's what's going on with them. Boston and the Yankees. We always appreciate a Boston Yankees series. Boston. I guess they'll show up.
I don't appreciate it that much this year. Boston just doesn't do it. It's not the Boston Yankees. I mean, I remember one year it was Boston and New York, and going for the ALCS, and you just watch all those games. And I was back when I could surf because I lived pretty close to the beach, and I remember I was surfing with this guy, Big Richard, and I wanted to get home to watch the game. And some dude came up and interrupted me. He's like, "Hey, man, the Lakers preseason game's on tonight." And I looked at that guy. "You're out of line, mister. You're way out of line. There's a Boston, New York Yankee." And I hate both teams. And I'm like, there's a Boston, New York Yankee. I don't feel that way about this rivalry anymore.
Yeah, who cares about that game? Boston doesn't even care enough to identify a pitcher. Cleveland and Detroit. Cavalli against Nova. Nova's been a weak link for Detroit, but Cleveland, their house is a mess, and I guess Francona their house is as big a mess as his stomach.
He didn't take my advice and drink the grappa. He's
No,
still unsettled.
only I took that advice. Pittsburgh and Cincinnati continue cool against Gray
too somehow.
So Gray's been excellent, but can Pittsburgh keep their offense going against another really good pitcher? Atlanta travels down to Miami, where Wright goes against Lopez. Miami obviously is winning games, but is Atlanta the first real team they're actually facing? The first elite level team they're facing, and will that matter? But they are at home.
I wonder. I'm interrupting you a lot more than I usually do since I'm going on vacation and I'm taking liberties. But do you think that line is going to be a little skewed because Miami came off so strong against Toronto? It's going to be like a little bit skewed to, I know Atlanta's going to be a wild favorite, but Atlanta hasn't been playing great. Miami just came off, scoring 14 runs against Toronto and Buffalo. I mean, I know the walls are only 280 feet, but
So what would skewed mean?
Like you would normally look at that game, talent-wise, whatever. Miami is playing over its head. They got many more wins than they should. They're a sickly team. They're not even a good team when they're fully healthy. If you wanted to bet Atlanta to win that game, how much chalk do you have to lay?
Well, that's the issue, is who's pitching. And
well, they don't have the pitchers announced. Okay, I'm sorry.
No, they do, and that's the thing. And Atlanta is throwing a guy who probably doesn't belong in the major leagues. So there's reason to believe that Miami should be able to score runs against this guy, and Miami's throwing a guy who has been very effective. Pablo Lopez, he's 1-1 with under 2 ERA.
He had a good game against the Birds, man. But I don't want to. This is first reads. Go ahead. I have a lot of theories on that game. Go ahead. I would think that maybe that you would be laying less chalk for those reasons, and because Miami's coming off showing a lot of thunder against Toronto,
and
you
now
lay less chalk than you would think you would have to.
And now Marco, factor in that the pitching matchup, at least the starting pitching matchup, favors Miami. So throw that in too. So take a guess where you think the line would be.
I think that if you just picked Atlanta to win at home, that it's negative 115.
No, Atlanta's in Miami. And it's in Miami.
Okay, I thought they were in Atlanta.
No.
Oh, jeez. I think Atlanta still has to be favored, though. I think you have to. If you pick Atlanta, you got to lay negative 110.
So the opening line is about minus 110.
Okay.
So you're right on it. Look at how much you're learning. You're getting right there.
I'm learning a lot.
Yeah. So Kansas
still get on that VIP list because we're getting great calls and I'm giving a lot of input.
Yeah.
Go ahead. I'm interested in that game. Go ahead.
Yeah. Kansas City goes into Minnesota. Minnesota, their bats are clicking, sort of, but the pitching matchup is Junis against Odorizzi, and maybe it's going to put all the bats on fire in that one.
You say those Italian pitchers' names, great. Odorizzi, Scalafini.
Yeah.
You got a nice, it rolls right off your tongue. You sure you don't got any Italian in you?
You taught me how to eat Italian, that's for sure. Milwaukee against Chicago. So Milwaukee up and down goes into Chicago. So Woodruff against Chatwood, good pitching matchup, certainly favors Milwaukee. And then we start to get further west with Texas and Colorado. So Colorado is 12-6. Lynn is going tomorrow, so he gets to go in there against, you're going to love it, against Castellani.
Castellani, Scalafini, Odorizzi, Michael.
But Lynn is amazing so far, 2-0, 1.1 ERA, making his Dazzy Vance claim. Seattle into
beard. I like it. I mean, how do you not like the beard?
I know.
Lynn, right?
Gucci against Valdez. Houston's trying to get it together. They're trying to get back to 500. A sweep of Seattle would get them there. Seattle's trying to stay relevant. The Dodgers and Angels matchup in an interleague five-freeway matchup. Kershaw goes against Sandoval. And I'm much more interested in the Kershaw-Trout matchup than the Kershaw-Sandoval matchup here. San Diego against Arizona. And it's almost like, are these teams going to play anybody else besides each other? San Diego and Arizona again? Lamet and his beautiful ERA goes against Kelly, who really burned us last time. My analysis was Kelly is due to start to unravel, but he threw like a no-hitter through 5, and that was wrong. And then the last game of the night is Oakland, San Francisco, Montes against Cueto. A good matchup for pitching matchup, I think.
That's Cueto doing, Shred. I can't even tell you his numbers.
He's getting hit hard, but doing innings. He's got about a 5 ERA. His last time out, he did. I think he pitched a no-hitter through 4 or 5 innings, something like that.
It's an interesting game, that Oakland San Francisco game. I tell you, I mean, I'm just very interested. For the reasons we talked about, I'm just very interested. I'm not that high on Lopez. I watched him pitch, even though he pitched well. He seems a little nervous, and he doesn't seem like that. He doesn't have a presence or a confidence. I haven't studied him. Again, this is my gut. This is how I'm gonna ask you to do that Atlanta-Miami game, man, as the first.
Of course you are. That's a tough game, but I'm up for the challenge.
I know you are.
First read flyer hangs at 7-3. We'll look at the Atlanta-Miami game and throw out a cap on that, and hopefully we'll move into even higher ground. Friday, tomorrow, have a good night's sleep. Get ready for your trip, Marco.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be in touch with you. I mean, even if we have to Zoom on my phone. I mean, there's a Zoom app. We could easily do it with my little iPhone, and from Woodstock or Hudson or any of the neat little towns up there in the Catskills.
Be careful moving through those sticks at 11 p.m. at night in the dark out there.
I'll be careful. I mean, I'll be mostly staying on my buddy's farm. It's called, he has a business. It's a tough time to have this business, but he started pre-COVID. It's called Adina Wine and Orchard, and they do weddings there. And because he has a barn that he fixed with a bar and a loft for music, and he did it all himself. He did an amazing job, my buddy Kevin. And it's Adina Wine and Orchard, and the business model is for people to get married and have the celebration there, and for everyone that gets married there, they get a little fruit tree planted, and they come back and they can get their fruit, and it's a really nice place. But I like going up there because it's 10 degrees cooler. I could breathe. I'm in that mountain air. I could get in that water. Makes me feel alive. And I could drink the water because it's just all that natural spring water. I'm no Daniel Boone, but I'm gonna have a good time up there, and I'm gonna come back refreshed and ready for some capping and some comedy.
Awesome, Marco. Have a great time. We'll be in touch.
All right, man. Good night, Michael.
Good night.